Hey, Jay, long time.
Hello, hello. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. We should have a call that's not recorded.
Yes. Yeah. Good plan, good plan. Lots to catch up on.
Go have a look in the stand-up channel. So that's why I've been scared. I did a offline for a few days. Hey, Ali,
Well, that's cool.
the place where I've been
Mm.
is it's got two names. The one is Hamkas Kloof. The other one is Hell. It is literally hell. It's whether the fact that I made it down there and back out is a miracle. I've been down there 2 years ago, and it's beautiful down there. There's nothing, but
Wow, what a
in the meantime, they had some terrible rains, so the road is washed out terribly. So
okay.
I spent 2 days down there just hanging by
Yeah,
myself. It was great.
that is cool.
Sorry,
Can't get
Ali,
straight from 48 Ks.
I can share the photos with
Really?
you. I can share it in Slack with you. Hey, Ali. Hey, Josh.
Hey there.
Oh dear.
Josh, thanks for sending out the reminder. I just confessed my absence. I've been down an amazing valley for where there's nothing for 2 or 3 days. So
Yeah. Oof. What?
which was this week. So I actually just came back this afternoon.
Okay. Immunization reaction or?
Just a no, I went down. It's a valley in South
Oh, an
Africa.
actual valley, not a
An
metaphorical
actual
valley.
no, a real
Got it.
valley
Okay.
called called Hamkaskloof, or Hell is the other name, because it's
Really?
48 kilometers of super dangerous road. Cost me two tires off my truck, but it was worth it.
Yeah. I've never been to South Africa. We have it on the
Oh,
list. My brother went and he absolutely loved it.
I live in a place
So,
called the Garden Route. It's not called the
yeah.
Garden Route for nothing. This is where all the beauty is. So
Oh, okay.
do come around. Come see
Yeah.
me. Ali, Noah, Jay, all invited.
I'm there.
And
If there's a conference.
I can make a conference if you care.
Yeah.
And I
I mean,
just
there is some kind of an annual South African open source conference.
I don't know about it, but we'll have to find out.
Yeah.
Now, I've recently discovered that there's a co-working space that opened in my town like last month. So now I've got an office as well. So we'll see me soon. So yeah, that's after KubeCon. So yeah, so there's space to work, there's places to go see, there's transport. I don't see a reason why not. The exchange rate is in everybody's favor. Just come see me.
Okay.
All right, so
That's all it is.
thanks for sorting the invite. I think let's kick it off. But I will lead if that's okay. Ali, thanks for adding all the things in the agenda in my absence.
Mhm.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Contributor Growth Working Group, October 26th meeting. This meeting is conducted under the CNCF Code of Conduct, so please be excellent to each other, and it will be posted on YouTube for future views. Let's look at today's agenda. No new faces. Everybody on the call we know. So let's start. Noah, I assume the first thing is yours on the agenda. It says non-code.
Oh, well, I didn't put it there, but that is mine. Give me a
Mhm.
second to pull up the information that I need. So let's see. Report from the non-code meeting. It happened, which is, we had 4 people, which is a 300% increase in attendance from the first meeting. The logistics of it, I think, are still getting hammered out. I feel like we we put the schedule in place and said, okay, let's have the meeting. And then all the other things we just kind of forgot to do, like set up the schedule and get the meeting invites out and all that other fun stuff. So we're still hammering it out, which is part of why I wanted to meet every week before KubeCon to make sure that we had all these things hashed out so that when we come back from KubeCon and hopefully people have excitement and momentum, that we can be moving forward with it. Now, as for the scheduling, we'd originally said every other week on Tuesdays, but Amy brought up that conflicted with the TOC meeting. So instead of every other week, we're just going to go to the alternate of them, which is second and fourth Tuesdays, which will take place as soon as, but we'll start on that schedule after KubeCon, basically.
Okay. Do note that the TOC is still having meetings on those Tuesdays. They're just closed meetings. So, and some of those closed meetings are sandbox reviews, which also include the tag leads. There is that pool of people that would not be available for that. I don't know if that pool of people is anywhere in the people that you want to attend, but those are the folks who wouldn't be able to make it.
Well, none of them voted on the poll.
Yep.
So the people that voted on the poll voted for this particular time slot, which honestly, I'm not particularly happy about it because it's 8 a.m. for me and I'm not a morning person, but it is what it is. So is there anything else to discuss about the scheduling, or I can tell you a little bit more about what happened in the meeting?
Yeah, no, first tell me more about what happened in the meeting, and then we'll work out what the actual set of calendar items you need is, because I was very confused by that request. So
okay, so in the meeting, primarily it was, like I said, we want to hash these out of whether or not we what the logistics are. We want to talk about, we talked about, do we actually want to get maybe a Slack channel dedicated to this? That is still up in the air. And there was the talk of people saying, hey, we should turn this into and I'll put working group in quotes. Because right now it is just sort of a nebulous initiative halfway between Tag CS and based on the work that needs to be done halfway between Kubernetes, SIG, and TribX. So it's sort of nebulous where it sits and what the formalization of this group is. It's just an initiative. So the suggestion of people saying, hey, we should turn this into a working group. And I'm like, yeah, it's a great idea because it's 8 a.m. and I'm agreeable. And I threw that into the Slack channel, to which a bunch of people said, we have a working group. It's this one, the Contributor Growth Working Group. So I'm not sure how I feel about it. I mean, obviously this is the place that the original non-code issue started from, which is one of our major agenda items, figuring out how this lines up with the deliverable of the advisory document that goes into this particular contributor, into this particular working group. I think most folks are familiar with what I've said the goals are, but I'll reiterate them anyway. It's to break out this advisory document, which is the umbrella issue inside GitHub. It's to produce guidance around the contributions to the projects at large. There's two facets. One is the non-code contributors and how we get them promoted and how we get them acting within the ecosystem of the projects. And then there's the non-code contributions and how they get bubbled up and how they become actionable. And are we going to treat them the same as other GitHub issues? And that is the two primary aspects of what we're going to be pulling out from this initiative. We're using Kubernetes as the testing ground because we already have the non-code guide written there. So we have some framework, but again, that framework is very academic. So we need to look at whether or not it's going to be something we build on top of, or whether it's something we reference when we build this whole initiative from scratch. And that's all being sorted out right now. and we're going to try and meet at KubeCon.
Okay.
One of the reasons that the suggestion was made for creating this as its own working group was based on the folks who were coming in from Knative, where they have a UX working group, and they wanted to look at having an analog to the working group that they already have, which is part of where that suggestion came from. But I think I could go either way as long as it's formalized, and that's the presentation of all the information that came out of this meeting.
So for the Knative part, I can elaborate a little bit more. I'm part of that group.
Okay.
Like I was trying to present, or I was presenting Knative to some designers, UX designers, and we had some I personally at least had some issues understanding how to present information to non-technical people. And similarly, I believe they also don't know how, for example, they can be part of this group, part of the Knative community, and how how they can be beneficial, basically, things like that. So we are trying to still find out, and a framework like that, if that existed. I didn't know there was something in Kubernetes, actually. I should take a look at there. But if there's a framework to that helps community members from a maintainer perspective, and then also the UX person or UI or non-contributor, a non-code contributor perspective, like explaining these are the things you can do, these are the things you can do as a maintainer or whatever, it would be super nice. And about the user group thing, like the suggestion about the user group, that I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I have thoughts on the working group bit. I think at this stage, most of these meetings is familiar faces. And if we don't make another working group and not divide things further, I think it would be more beneficial. Rather get more people, even if we start sharing this meeting, get some of them in this meeting. And if you look at contributor growth, a lot of the work of contributor growth is not code. It is writing documents, writing blogs, helping with the website. So there's a lot of things that is touching on tech, but not code. And I think if you want to be in the open source space, non-code, you kind of need to be in the area where we are developing specific things for projects. And the code people don't want to develop all the documentation for themselves because they're so busy writing the code that make the thing work. And as we are contributor growth, I think let's grow contributors here and call it the initiative, have a separate meeting, but rather grow this meeting to the point where we have 20 people and everybody's fighting over who can have the next issue to sort out. That would be fantastic.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, for that matter, as somebody who is a code contributor on a couple of projects, I will point out that I am also a heavy non-code contributor. I don't think there's anybody who is only a code contributor.
Fair. And that going back to what Ali mentioned, you said you didn't know about what was done over in Kubernetes. So I will give you a quick rundown on it. A lot of it was enumeration, and there was some expectation around how that was going to fit into the ecosystem of the contributors for the project. So it was identification of these are roles that you can do. These are roles and tasks that have no code focus. These are ones that have understanding of code, but they are adjacent, things like documentation. And then there are other roles that are, we ended up coming up with the term post-code, where things like architecture, like architecture is not a code review, but it is still required to have that knowledge in order to be able to get to the level of having that discussion. And a lot of it was enumeration with the expectation that, okay, now we've set out, here's a bunch of the places that people can get active. SIG leads, how do you want to handle this? And they were all just like, we're busy. So it never went any farther than the academic enumeration phase, which is part of what we're trying to overcome in this, that the identification and being able to make things actionable.
Yeah, I mean, what I would love to see, like what we could really help. So there's two areas we could really help projects, right? That I know of, right? And you're probably going to come up with others, right? One is looking at it from the contributor perspective to say somebody coming in, hey, I am not really a programmer, or I'm not a particularly good programmer. How do I find a project to help using something other than code? And you know, and what are the things I could do, right? The including potentially, like for a lot of the smaller projects, how do I get the idea of having an accredited non-code contributor started, right? Because we still have a lot of small projects where they have, you know, 4 people who work on 80% of the code, and those 4 people are really the only listed contributors, because they just haven't acknowledged anybody else. And it's not that they don't need other stuff done, it's just that, you know, that's how things start out and they haven't grown. You know, and I don't think that people coming in have any idea of the scope of things they could do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the first thing that people say for non-code is, well, documentation. Yeah, that is one thing. Documentation is important. But for that matter, so is organizing all kinds of events, you know, whether it's an in-person event, whether it's just an issue triage, you know, online issue triage party. You know, these are important things to do. So are, heck, helping maintain the project's, you know, project boards or roadmap and just keep it up to date, is honestly a major thing that somebody who is inclined to be an organized person could do for a project, and helps a lot. You know, and so like all these sort of opportunities. So that's on the contributor side. And on the project leader side, the thing that they do, you know, that a lot of the projects need is sort of the opposite side of it, right? Is how do we list all of our non-code opportunities and make sure that we acknowledge them? Because particularly for a lot of these projects that started out as single company projects, right? The non-code opportunities are actually an easier way for them to get their first outside contributors.
Yep.
You know, and the because it doesn't require them, among other things, to overhaul their workflow, right? The sandbox projects have this sort of catch-22 where they can't necessarily get a lot of CNCF resources to move their CI to CNCF, which makes it hard for them to have outside code contributors. But it's also hard for them to advance to incubating if they have no outside contributors. The so you know, and for that matter, honestly, the other thing that having a lot of the sort of documentation of non-code roles and responsibilities does is it helps even people who are code maintainers acknowledge the amount of non-code work that they're doing and that needs to be done, which is really important for then how those contributors' time is managed. Because,
Yes.
you know, we know with, you know, the layoffs and stuff that happened this year, the first thing that gets thrown out the window is like management time. And we've really seen the impact of that in Kubernetes. And part of that is that work is not really documented, and as a result, people don't acknowledge that it's significant.
And I think the corollary to that is acknowledging the work that is the bandwidth that goes into identifying the work in and of itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's going back to what I said a moment ago. If we went to the SIGs and said, okay, here's all the ideas that we've enumerated, and they were like, we're busy. Like, okay, how do we help that stage get overcome so that we can get to the next stage?
Right. yeah, and a lot of it is making things easier, right? So like, for example, if you identify something that's like a common non-code role, right? Then you write something up, a guide, a template, or whatever, and that makes it much easier for the project to adopt it because it's something they can copy. That's what we've done with governance. That's what we've done with some of the other things. Like, for example, Rian wrote this whole guide around using project boards to manage your project's roadmap. It's kind of a short
Mhm.
step from there to writing a template for a role that is project board maintainer, right? Or something like, hey, here's how to run an issue triage party. And you do them one at a time, right? It's like what we've done for release team roles in Kubernetes or the running the KCS or whatever. It's huge if you look at the whole thing, but you can pick like one role or one task or one opportunity at a time and just keep adding to it.
Yeah. I am 100% on board with everything you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reaction from the SIG leads, and Josh mentioned that before, a bad contribution is very, very expensive on support, on the leads. Because to try, and even though the person really want to help, if the contribution is not helpful to get to the point where that becomes helpful, so if we create kind of personas which we have, so it's not random things being thrown in, as like board maintainers, a good example, where somebody just take responsibility for tidying up their board. That's already, it's help, it's not a burden.
Awesome.
Yeah.
About the schedule, sorry.
Okay.
I don't know if you're there or I don't know if we finished that talk. The schedule. I really wanted to join, but I never received an email or something, and I obviously missed some message from Slack.
Oh.
So I missed the meeting.
No, the last meeting was not, there was no calendar item created.
Okay.
And it only got posted to Slack like 45 minutes before. So there wouldn't be a way you should know about it because last week, right, when you had the meeting that didn't really work out, someone, I think asked me to have it scheduled for every 2 weeks. And so that was what I requested from CNCF staff. And that's what's currently on the community calendar. But every 2 weeks starting last week.
So is it on the calendar now?
I believe so.
Okay.
Take a look at next Tuesday. No, it's Monday. Hold on.
I don't see it.
It should be. Yeah, I don't see it though.
I'm not seeing it on the list.
Okay. I'll
Which,
follow up on the
honestly,
service desk issue then.
That might be easier if it's not there in the first place.
Okay.
Yet. Anyway, that just means it hasn't been done yet.
Yeah. So so anyway, if you want to put in there like say if you want to put down there what is, what are like say the next 4 dates you want to have, and then what's the schedule after that? And then I can request that.
Let's just say it's second and fourth Tuesdays. Next Tuesday is an outlier. We're also going to do next Tuesday.
Okay, so plus next Tuesday, October 31st.
Yes.
That would be the last one that you could actually have before KubeCon. The next week is KubeCon.
Yes.
Yeah, and then so we've got October 31st, followed by
November 14th, November 28th.
Okay.
December 12th, December 26th. I'm sure we'll have a meeting that day.
Yeah, I think for the rest of the year, I'm just going to give them the specific dates, and then they can set up the recurring thing for starting in January.
That
So,
sounds fine.
do. So January would start on the 9th.
Yep.
So 8 a.m. your time. Is it now with this time? With this meeting
Yeah.
time?
It is 10:30 a.m. for me right now.
Huh.
Yeah,
So
so
2 hours ago.
Yeah.
1500 UTC,
1500.
except not 1500 UTC because we're about to go out of US daylight savings time.
Yeah.
I guess one of the questions is, are you going to stay on US time or are you going to peg this to UTC?
Oh god. Oh.
Sorry, but that's a decision. You can get back
If
to me
it-
on that.
If it will help you in any way, specifically, I know for New Zealand, if things are not pinned to UTC, it goes terrible at least twice a year for your Eastern time zone people.
Yeah, although I will say the time slot that they're talking about is kind of out of bounds for New Zealand anyway.
Let's see if it's fallback would bring it from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., which I wouldn't argue with, but it would confuse a bunch of the other people who are all I think almost everyone that voted based on US time.
Yeah. No, I mean you can do it. The TOC meetings, I believe, stay on US time. So you just need to make that decision before I ask for the calendar items. That's all.
Well, let's do the next. Yeah, we're not. We'll have to discuss it next Tuesday, basically, for what that means for time zones. But for the rest of the year, let's keep it in US time zone, and then we'll figure out what that looks like moving forward for the recurring meeting.
Okay. Oh, whoops. Okay. Sorry, I typed over you.
It's okay.
Okay. Okay. So at this time, I'm going to file a ticket and I'm just going to ask for the next 4 meetings. And then you'll figure out the schedule after that.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, due to the permissions of Google Calendar, a CNCF staff member has to create any calendar items. Because there's no way that they can give even tag leads permissions on calendar items without giving us permission to, for example, mess with other tags calendar items.
Yeah, makes sense.
Not that we would intentionally, but people do things accidentally. Like, for example, if I have admin permissions and I'm attending and I decide not to attend Tag Networks meeting and I click not attending, I might accidentally click delete this event.
That would be unhelpful.
And I know this because it's happened in Kubernetes. So.
All right. I think we're good on the code meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just want to be conscious of time to give. Ali's got 3 big points that I also want to. Ali, do you want to do it in the sequence you got it there, or you want to flip it around?
It's okay. So I think we talked. So in KubeCon, I believe everyone here is going KubeCon, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, remember. So we are gonna visit projects. Do we want to? Did we talk about the schedule or something like that? We meet and
we talked about wanting a schedule and that it would be better if we could basically do a couple of pairs of people.
Yeah.
Right, because it's more fun if you're doing it with somebody else. But on the other hand, trying to bring together all of us at one time would require some particular. But if we could pair up, yeah. And probably the best way to do that is let's just set up someplace to sign up. You know, a spreadsheet or something.
Mhm.
And then we can communicate on Slack, right? So you pick a time that works for you and you say, hey, I could do it at either of these 2 times. Is anybody else available then? Because we're all in the same position, right? Of needing to sort out our KubeCon schedules by reconciling 4 different calendars. You know, including the fact that I actually need to staff some of the other project kiosks. So, as do you. So
So how about I create a Google Sheet and we enter our names
Okay.
into some, I create some slots.
Mhm.
Half an hour or hour-long slots.
yeah, I think
Or-
an hour would do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you actually want to go and visit several projects, right?
Okay. And if we pair up, we use that time. If not, I mean, it's up to the person if they want to visit.
Mhm.
Okay.
So,
And I will share
Yeah.
the over slide.
yeah, and then one of the other things that we'll want to do is share information about which kiosks we visited after the fact. So that way we're not, for example, I don't know, visiting etcd 4 times and never getting to backstage at all.
I don't think we can plan it ahead. It
No,
would be a
I
lot
think
of
we should
work.
just do it after the fact. We should do it
Yeah,
after the fact. We should say, hey, you know, if you go around with Jay, say, you know, and then after the fact you say, hey, we visited these 5 projects.
Should we print out a checklist somewhere?
I think sharing printed material would be challenging. I think we need to keep
Well,
track of this online.
If we kept it, well, also that we could
We
could
don't
share a
have a
spreadsheet
kiosk.
then.
We don't have a kiosk. As a matter of fact,
Wait.
one of the things I need to figure out is how I'm going to get T-shirts to people.
I thought we
The,
did. I thought we had a shared kiosk with somebody else, or was that last year?
No, we specifically didn't have a kiosk so we could do this canvassing thing.
Okay. Can't keep track of anything.
Yeah. So I think that's a good way, and then we'll just, you know, we'll keep track of it on the spreadsheet, and people need to remember to check.
I have to confess, my first in-person KubeCon, so I will just tag along and learn.
Yeah, so you definitely need to team up with somebody else, but
I do make a good teammate, though.
Yeah. And the thing is, who knows? We might talk to a project, they might have questions about GitHub automation, in which case you will have plenty to say. So because that's a question we in fact do get a lot.
Or something about roadmaps.
Yes,
Get yourself
something about
organized.
roadmaps. Yep.
Let's organize you.
Yep. So one of the other things that we have been requested by the TOC, by the way, is to share the overhaul, the matriculation levels with projects to make sure they're aware of it and that they can provide feedback. There's going to be a feedback location put up before KubeCon. And basically, what we've done in the task force there is that we've actually condensed everything that's been asked for the matriculation levels down to an actual checklist. Something I've wanted to do since we started TagCS, honestly. So, but we now need the projects to take a look at the checklist, particularly projects that are looking at advancing levels. Because if we're going to get feedback around, hey, we can't possibly do that, we want to get it now rather than at the time that they're submitting their DD.
So that is very cool. I think I like the idea. Like, I mean, the levels checklist, I like that too. Sharing that with the projects, that is also a good idea. But we all need to learn more about those levels and check them in detail. Or
yeah,
or maybe
yeah,
during
and
KubeCon you can give us like a like an overview? I mean, we can definitely read, but you know.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the public feedback location. It didn't get put up by the staff yet because they were doing member summit this week. But hopefully next week it'll get put up and then we can actually share it all. And I think we have one more tag meeting for anybody who's not on an airplane next Thursday. So and this is more of a, hey, let's make sure to mention it to projects so that they actually do give feedback. Among the other things we're talking to them about.
All right, so we will be on the lookout for Ali's sheet. Start signing up there and also market it at our next meeting.
Mhm.
You're muted, Jay.
Are there any particular insights that we want to be gathering from the visits, from the kiosk visits, just overall, or is it just sort of general interaction, or are there some key things for this particular KubeCon that we want to identify?
I mean, part of it is, I mean, number one is kind of letting them know who the tag is and what we do. And the kind of help that we have available. Unfortunately, we don't have a maintainer circle this time because Dave has not been available and nobody else has been interested in running maintainer circle. Let's see, some of the other things prior to our maintainer session, making people know people know about that. You know, because it is sort of aimed at project folks. And then sort of the help that we provide, and you know, some of the people staffing the kiosks are going to be project manager type people. So we also want to do a little recruiting for the tag itself.
Yeah.
The projects that have kiosks, I assume it will just be graduated, or would there be incubating and sandbox projects also with kiosks?
Definitely incubating. I think a couple of sandbox ones got in simply because, you know, the way they do it is they satisfy all the graduated and incubating requests first, and then if there's any left over, the sandbox sort of get a lottery. And I'm pretty sure a couple of sandbox ones got in. So
then the new projects level move process would be a good discussion point.
yeah, yep. Here, hold on.
No point marketing moving project levels to people that's already gone through all the admin.
Some of them may have feedback though, right? Because particularly like if they graduated and it was either painful or really easy for them, they're also going to have, like if they graduated recently, they're going to have comments on what the old process was like.
Also good.
I have a list of all of the project kiosks, but it's long. So the question is, do I want to dump it into these notes?
Probably better off to dump it into the spreadsheet.
I'm muted. I was muted. Sorry. I was thinking I would add a separate tab or something with the project so that we can add check marks.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. As soon as you stand up a spreadsheet, I can actually just paste in the full list of projects because I have that from another source. Okay.
Cool. That's gonna be helpful.
Josh, we did have some flyers and things like that. Do you still have them, or like what do you know?
Do we?
We had something last year, right? No, in
Amsterdam. I don't have copies of anything. I still have some stickers, but that's about it. I don't actually have copies of any sort of thing. And we probably would want to print out something new. The question is, do we actually want to hand out printed material?
Would it make more sense to maybe have like I'm thinking in terms of like a sales battle card for those who want to walk around and represent the tag. Say,
Mhm.
hey, by the way, here's the major talking points in case you forgot any, and that can be digital.
Mhm.
As opposed to necessarily having a handout. Or have a QR code on it and have a handout on the website.
Well,
Okay.
keep in mind that changes to our website have to go through an approval process. So,
Yeah.
The yep.
But
I'm
no
being
worry, there's at least a whole week before KubeCon.
Yeah.
I know.
And
The
no one's busy right now, right?
Yeah.
Which properly
Yeah,
take
I've
us
been-
in. Go ahead, Josh.
sorry, I've been repeatedly saying this to like CNCF projects all week, is saying, look, here's where to submit that, but understand that nobody's going to address it for at least 2 weeks. So
Which I think, if there's nothing else here, takes us to the point of getting a website merged. Ali, thanks for the great work. I saw you did a lot. Please walk us through us. A confession, I've been busy. I didn't.
Sure. 1 second. I think I'm sharing my screen.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Okay. On the window. Okay. So this is the PR. So what I did is I created. So this is the PR from Chris. He and a designer, I believe, made some changes for this look. It looks good, and I helped with filling in the content now. So this is the preview of this PR. Now we have 4 items here, and when you click on mentorship, that's the easy one. I start with that one. When you click on mentorship, you go to the mentoring working group about page. So this is under this about mentoring working group. This was already there, no new content, just a new link. But if you click on accessibility, now this is new. This is the cloud native accessibility. So there is a new menu item here on the top. And under that, there is deaf and hard of hearing working group page, but there's not much content here. The real content is like on the on the left. So these are the actual documents that the group wrote. Instead of having them in the GitHub repository, I added them to the website.
okay.
If you all think this is good, we can merge this so that it could
Okay.
be published before KubeCon. And the working groups, now also in the about working groups, we have this very basic information about this work, this deaf and hard of hearing working group. All good?
I am very much for merging before KubeCon. Specifically, the accessibility group are very keen to have something to show. And this has been holding for a long while. So I'm +1. We can always further iterate after KubeCon once this is in.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
But that's just my fault. Anybody else?
Yeah, I agree. It's awesome work.
Thanks for driving this, Ali. I know it was a lot of work. I saw a lot of things come past. So yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, no problem. So the last one is about, it's a simple thing, if you're okay with previous item, calendar entries. Like, well, okay, I cannot really show my Google Calendar, but for example, do you have invites for this meeting or other meetings in your Google Calendar, or do you just copy the one from CNCF Calendar to your personal? I want to find a way to make this whole thing easy in case there's an update, for example.
Wait, so our calendar items go in the CNCF community calendar, which at least I'm subscribed to. So
Mhm.
who are we talking about issuing invitations to the Tag CS public list?
Well, I don't know. For example, do you get notifications before this meeting from Google Calendar?
Yes.
Okay, but did you copy the event to your personal calendar, or how does it? I couldn't make it work. Sorry.
No, I just subscribe to the CNCF community calendar.
Okay.
And I think I'm in a similar boat to you, Ali, because I don't want to subscribe to everything on the CNCF calendar because then my calendar becomes unusable.
Yeah.
And the only ways that I've found have been to make my own invites and link back to the CNCF calendar within the invite in my own calendar. Like,
Yeah, I am pretty much doing the same thing.
Yep, same for me.
Okay. So,
Because if the community calendar, I've got the community calendar as an option that I can switch on and off. But if I switch it on, I think it comes in pink or something. My whole calendar turns into CNCF calendar. And yeah, it's pretty unusable for me.
so what I am also curious is, like, for example, when I check the Tag Contributor Strategy Contributor Growth Working Group, I see there are some folks who are invited, like added in the invitation, like Charles from Bouillon, some person like John something. I don't want to, like, this is recorded, so I don't want to say every email. But how did they get invited to that? So that would be, so that would solve the problem if I would, for example, for me, if I was on that invite list. For the
Oh,
calendar.
weird. Okay. Yeah, no, what happened with that is that this has just been perpetuated since we started the tag. So that was the original list of recruits for founding the tag.
Okay.
So, and the CNCF contributor strategy list is invited to this. So you should also have an invitation via the list, because that's really who it should be, right? Is that for this, it should be the public CNCF calendar and the CNCF contributor strategy list, and we shouldn't need to invite anybody individually.
That works well with Google Groups, I know. If you're in a Google group and if you invite the Google group, anyone.
Oh, but the list is not a Google group. You're right. The
Yeah.
list is not a Google group. So,
I mean, if you know the solution, please let me know.
Yeah.
If you don't know, we don't have to solve this right now. It's okay.
Yeah. The reason why I'm reluctant to add people is because if we want to add individuals to it, that has to go through the staff. We have to file a service desk ticket every time we change the list of individuals. So I really don't want to get into it for that reason. So yeah. So
This is something I should bring up to CNCF and maybe make this lists.cncf.io groups work similarly to the Google group. I don't know.
that was gonna be my suggestion.
Yeah, and I don't know how possible that is, because it's a different mailing list system.
Yeah.
That's more like Mailman. It's not Mailman though, but it's more like Mailman that they run for reasons.
And maybe we just have to do a duplication.
Yep.
Say, congratulations, you're now also on this other list that is specifically for invites. Please send some mail to it.
Okay. I'm gonna try to
Yeah.
send an email about that. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yep. Yeah, and just understand this is actually an unsolved problem for the CNCF community calendar, for that matter, for the Kubernetes community calendar. So, because an awful lot of the Kubernetes SIGs, et cetera, are still personally owned Google groups. And until we migrate them all to Kubernetes owned Google groups, we also have issues with invitations. So so yeah.
Okay.
Let us know.
And on a higher level, that is actually a pretty important thing, because if you want contribution, you should not make it hard to attend meetings. So yeah, maybe we should make that a good thing for the new year, to solve that before end of 2024. How's that for a provision? No, what?
For
You
me-
just got added to the calendar working group.
Calendar
It's not
working
code.
group. Yeah, nice.
It wasn't
It's
live.
not- yeah, it's a non-code contribution of calendar management. Fantastic. There's a project for you. Find people.
Awesome.
Mhm. The
And in spite of quite a lengthy agenda, we're through the whole thing. Any other thoughts before we see each other at KubeCon? All right, in that case, I will give everybody 10 minutes back. Thanks for attending. Thanks for all the helpful input. And see you at KubeCon.
Thank
oh,
you.
wait, before I
Yes.
go, we need our liaison approval before we merge the website changes. So
Yes,
I've pinged the liaisons there, but just don't go ahead and merge until they say something.
I see Emily reacted, so she will
Yep.
probably, she's pretty quick on it once she reacted. So I'll merge after she approved. Or
Okay.
Ali, you gonna merge it?
It's okay. You can merge. I mean, I'm gonna stop now. So if you have the approval very soon, you can just merge it. I don't know what time zone are you in right now.
I'm gonna do another few hours, so if it comes in while I'm here, I'll merge it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
Bye.
Cheers.
See you all.